Hey, good morning everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for November 10th, 2016. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We've seen a continuation here for the most part in overnight trading beyond the previous session's high near 67s. We saw price continue pushing higher into the next upside key level, which is 2179.75. That's the MCV from this micro composite range right here. And we've just retested it after taking it offered initially, and so far it's been rejected. So this is going to be very important to see how this plays out here, because we've obviously went down and found a low on election night. We've now rallied, and we're trying to see where that high comes in. Whenever we find that high, we could see a snapback rejection right back to the midpoint of that range, and we could see kind of a longer term impulse move occur. We had the intraday one that occurred election night, and then of course we broke through that one and continued to push higher. So on a swing basis here, if this becomes a rejection high, we don't know that just yet, but if it does, then we could be looking at a midpoint reversal back toward the midpoint of this range to kind of cement that as a key range to watch now. So we're going to keep an eye on this right here. So far, an early rejection of 2179.75, that's MCV. If we look at this thing on an intraday basis right here, you'll see for the most part price pushed higher beyond the previous session's high price and close. There's the close, here's the high, pushed through the high, rallied, found that MCV, rejected, came back, lower high, etc. So now we're back at VWAP, and we're chopping around VWAP and VPOC. And at the moment, backing off those levels is going to be very important. Can price climb back above 72s? Can it climb back above 74 in this zone? If so, you might be retesting this area. If that starts to become hard resistance, you start to look at the other end of the range for potential targets. And in this case, you'd be coming back toward 52.60. So 52 is going to be very important here. That's the top of the election night impulse range as the sell-off occurred. So this will be an important target to retest if prices cannot reestablish back above 72.74 here early in the session. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. Here's crude oil, the daily time frame here. What we see is a nice rejection off our 43s, and that's something we knew to look for. We knew 43s could offer a bounce opportunity, especially intraday. I thought that we may see more of a swing break through that level at some point, but the first test we knew to look for a bounce, and that was 43. We got into 43.07, and since then we've rallied as high as 45.95. So I mean, almost 3 handles off that 43. Little to no heat there. Very, very nice move. And one thing that almost came true here was the outside reversal. So we have a high the previous session, 45.39, and then yesterday's close came in at 45.34. So 5 ticks shy of closing above the previous high, or 6 ticks shy. That would have triggered an outside buy reversal, and then you'd have more bulls looking to kind of press that. So if that's still running here, I would say watch the previous close here and watch the midpoint. So about 44.51 down to the previous close of about, 44.70, 44.12, and then the midpoint's 44.50. So you have a little bit of a zone there to watch for swing absorption. If price comes into this area, bulls could come in and defend over the period of a couple of days, and if price can eventually push above 46s here, there could be a nice squeeze back toward 50. So we could see some very, very nice development here. Overall, what I mentioned before was, given the big push down, we were likely to see sideways action develop for the most part, and we've seen that play out. Now we got to see if this is a real rejection tail here, real rejection day. If so, then bulls would want to keep this area bid for a shot at pushing this thing higher. Failure to hold that level will just imply more trading range activity. All right, let's take a look at the intraday time frame. There it is. So we got the intraday up. One thing you notice here is the downtrending structure for the day so far. Downtrending VWAP, lower highs, lower lows. So this thing is pushing downward, at least short term. The other thing is, obviously, the previous session's midpoint is right here, 44.51. It's the bottom of the daily pivot range. This is the daily pivot range. And so you also have that previous close, 44.13. So this is the swing absorption zone right here. So you can visually see it on the intraday time frame. If price drops into this area, let it bounce around. When it starts to climb back out, that could be the opportunity to come up. Or if you start to see absorption down here off a level, you can participate here, right? So the idea is to watch for signs that bulls are going to defend this area so that we can squeeze through 46s. Above 46 can open up the pathway back toward 47.25, 48, and then the next upside key level 50 up there. So we have some upside, major upside levels to play toward if this thing can get through 46s, but it starts with bulls absorbing down here. All right, let's take a look now at gold futures here. Here's a look at gold. We have the higher time frame here. And in the higher time frame, you see again, we have a big tail that developed here the previous session. This 1305 to 1310 zone was resistance. Price pulled back. And then we saw the big tail happen up here and hit the FOMC levels, the Fed levels, right? After the Fed levels initially went offered. And then we rejected all the way back down, and then today already rejecting off the weekly pivot range and finding tails. So this looks rather weak here. You know, we've had a rejection here, and even on this big day up, rejection, and you still see a pattern of lower highs. If price cannot get back above 1290, we saw 1291 as major resistance the last couple of days. 1291 still in there, and it's still showing resistance right now. So if there's a failure to get above 1291, you got to look to the opposite end of the range, and any push below these recent lows. You know, for these bulls that are long, probably have sell stops here, which means that they would likely take MCV puck offered. So you have to be very careful in this area. I think 1291 is a very key level right there where the bulls and bears are doing a little bit of business. Above that level can squeeze, but we've seen quite a bit of rejection here off that zone already today. If we look at the NQ here, the NQ, you know, we talked about before having kind of the expanding range here. I thought we got left behind here, but the tail took us right back to the bottom of that zone. And now we're swinging right back up. We have the top of this range here, which would take us somewhere up here, 49.50s. But, you know, we've already seen a rejection here off of 48.80, which is our highest key level that we have for the NQ. 48.80 is the highest key level we've ever put up there. There's obviously 4,900 as just a nice round number. If we put up some other, you know, key ranges that may come into 49 or 49.25 as key levels, for example, 49.46 is a very important key level for us, but it's not, you know, just kind of a hand-picked key level like we have at 48.80. And that was basically the high today. Price came into that level, rejected off of it, and is already back below or at the midpoint of the day. So this is going to be important here to see, can price push through the zone? Because very similar to what I mentioned with the ES, we found our low and then we swung to the opposite end. If this is the high, then I would expect a return back toward the midpoint of this impulse move, and that could set up our next key range to watch. So I don't know if this is going to be guaranteed the high yet. We need today to close to you know, cement that, but at the same time we can watch 48.80 for signs that that is the top, or at least short term, because it could lead to a counter trend move right now. If we look at the intraday time frame, here we are. You can see how clean that 48.80 reversal was. Here's 48.80. The high was 79.75. Price dropped back down, pulled back, and right there, there's a retest lower high, and it's also happening at a weekly key level. It's happening at the primary bull target for the day. So this is the low. This is the PivotBoss primary ADR target, and then you see it reject back to value. So a nice rejection there. That was just a lower high rejection. Classic lower high, hit perfectly on the button, came back and went. And now we have to see this price hold here at 48.40 and create a new range from 48.80 down to 48.40, or does price eventually eat through that area and start to test 48.06 half and lower? Because again, if that starts to be the case and you start to see rejection below 48.40 and you start to see push through there, that could lead to a swing or move back toward the midpoint of the larger impulse move up. So something I'll be looking for as we head into the rest of the session. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how it plays out the rest of the day. Good luck and trade well.